Awareness is empowerment. When you are aware of your inner spirit, inner soul, inner self, personality, all the parts that make you you, you are thus empowered. And nothing else on the outside can give you as much power as that can give you.
Awareness is awesome for so many reasons. It helps to eliminate judgment because you understand that there's a really good reason for why you're experiencing this thing. And also awareness allows us to let go of this idea of controlling the outside.
Just be different, okay?
Yeah, that's like what we all do is we all go to the outside and we're like, can you just please be different so that I feel better? Duh, that's not ever gonna work.
Hey everybody, welcome to Flow Getter. Today's episode, you're here with me, Lisa, and Erica the Magnificent. Today's episode, we're going to talk about awareness and what it is, because you're like, well, I know what that is. Do you though? And why it is the most important part of your whole life. So we're going to dive in. Guaranteed awesomeness. Are you ready? Let's go. Erica, how do you define awesomeness? And bonus question, how do you think other people define awareness?
Thank you. I love that you accidentally said awesomeness. Oh my God, that's so fun. It's so good.
Exactly.
Okay, so this topic came to us via my dad, actually. Hi, Dad.
Hi.
He wanted us to talk about introspection, and I was like, What does that mean? So, what do you mean?
What even is that?
What is that? And I think for him, so you and I, we talk about awareness in terms of higher consciousness, kind of becoming aware of really literally everything out, and not just awareness in this world, but awareness, the awareness that's beyond. I guess if you want to say that.
Yeah, within, beyond.
All the things.
All levels of existence. Yeah.
Yes. And so when my dad was kind of talking about this idea of introspection, which now I understand he was kind of talking about awareness, his definition was kind of like just being aware of who you are and your surroundings. And I think with him, so he, just a little background, he was in human resources, like his entire career, a personnel officer. And so also always very in tune with other people, like a very sensitive being. He's a 211 in numerology, if that means anything to anyone. But a very relationship oriented, people oriented person who is very highly sensitive, is a caretaker type of energy. So he is highly aware. And so I think for him, he kind of wanted us to talk about this idea of kind of gaining more awareness from that perspective.
So how does awareness, once we define what that is, we are definitely going to say, wow, you care. You care so much. This is like the one thing you care about, but you didn't know you cared about. And I'll just, before we get into a little bit of, like, because I think you have a lot more definitions of it, I'll start off with mine and then you can bounce off that one. Okay. My definition of awareness is the sense of like that you just have an awareness of yourself, like you sort of exist. I know a lot of spiritual teachers talk about this a lot more eloquently, but it's a sense of I'm able to pay attention. And whether you're paying attention, a lot of people pay attention outward, a lot of people pay attention inward, everywhere in between. And then some people are able to pay attention in like realms and ways that most of us can't even fathom, right? So the idea is that I'm conscious, but then I'm also like having a sense of activating my feelings, my emotions, and my mind, hopefully simultaneously. So it's not just awareness of all mental, like your body can be aware of things. Okay, so that's just kind of a quick overview from my perspective, but I'm sure I'll have 80 other thoughts. But I wanted you to dive deep because you had a more comprehensive, I think, an in-depth discussion, and I can't wait to hear it. So hit me with your best shot, girl.
You just made me think of, do you remember that time? And I am going to say this out. I might regret saying this on camera and having this be recorded, but whatever. I'm going to say it anyway. Remember that time when I sent you the article about this, a woman who, a self-proclaimed psychopath?
Oh,
My whole life, up until like a few years ago, I kind of looked at myself as not being a sensitive person. Like I was just like, you know, in relationships, but I now kind of understand that. Okay. So I think I blocked myself from certain levels of awareness and sensitivity, like put up a very unconscious wall around myself. And so, at the time that I was learning that maybe I'm like, I don't know what's going on here because I feel like I'm really sensitive in certain areas, but very not sensitive in other areas. I don't really know. And so I was like, you know, when I guess what I know about autism, as little as I know, I should say, just kind of my understanding, I kind of resonate a little bit with it in the sense of like, yeah, there's certain things that I'm highly sensitive to, sounds, smells, touch. Like there's like, I think part of why I really enjoy my alone time is because I'm highly sensitive in certain areas, like big crowds, loud. It's too much. I find it very overstimulating. But when I was reading this article that I sent you, which I read another article like I think it was yesterday actually about a sociopath, self-proclaimed sociopath, and how she had to learn, it resonated because she was essentially saying how she had to learn based on cues, like social cues that she would get. She would see how people reacted. She would,
like, oh,
yes. And then it would trigger a response that she was supposed to have. But it's not because she ever felt anything. You know, she couldn't feel other people's sort of pain or whatever. So I was like, I kind of get that. Like, I understand it. So there are levels of awareness in different facets of our lives. And I think understanding that and knowing that, just kind of what you said, there's inward awareness, internal awareness, I suppose, external, everywhere in between, and then, like you said, beyond in other dimensions. And for me, awareness, when I hear awareness, I think of all of it. And like one of my life goals is to become more and more and more sensitive. Maybe not necessarily in the sound part, because that I've always,
you're high auditory.
I'm pretty, I don't need any more of that, but yeah, like becoming aware inside, becoming aware of my surroundings, becoming, gaining more empathy. And I do think you can learn how to be more empathetic. I think you can learn all sorts of things. I don't think just because you come into this world with certain levels of awareness doesn't mean you can't work on those things and learn more. I think sometimes we stop ourselves from gaining more awareness because society tells us, we get labeled, or we label ourselves, or we label each other. And then we just sit there in that space and we don't try to improve. Like, I might be a sociopath. Okay. Which I think for a lot of us, when we say terms like sociopath or psychopath, we immediately get those people really are tense. Bad. Yes. Those are bad people. No, it's you have empaths, sociopath, psychopath, whatever else you want to, whatever other paths exist, there's a spectrum, just like there is in every other facet of life. And it doesn't make us bad people. It just speaks to our levels of sensitivity in that arena and how we can gain more awareness. We just have to learn how to do that in this life.
I think actually you're very sensitive. And as a coping mechanism, I've had to put up to be a mime. You've had to be a mime. And then, basically get yourself to a point of protection to function properly. So we can, we'll debate what kind of path we are later. I'm a 211 also, definitely I'm going to feel all your feelings for you and try and fix you. And I'm just let me feel all your feelings and fix you and hand you back to you so you don't have to do anything. That is the worst. But so the awareness, So what I'm hearing is when you get more aware of where you fall on the empathy scale, you then have a choice to grow, to say, all right, I'm getting more relationship issues, so I need to be more seeing what my behavior is doing to other people if I want to continue that relationship. If you don't care, who cares? But, like it enhances those types of things, or at work or whatever, children, you name it. So it gives us an opportunity to grow by having the awareness of, okay, just because I wasn't born this way doesn't mean I can't learn and try to open myself up to more of it, and then see aware of the results that I'm getting. So ding, 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 there's our first benefit is you learn you learn who you are by becoming aware, and then you learn where you want to grow, and you don't have to, but you learn like, wow, this would be better if I, wasn't rude to people or didn't, this, that, and the other thing with people.
Yeah.
My life would go better. I should probably, because you have to be aware of that. If you're not aware of it and you're just barreling through life, you're going to get the results you are getting at this time. So there's choice, right?
Yes. And you just made me this idea of life is a mirror. If you can really approach every day, every moment from that space, from that perspective, life is a mirror, the amount of awareness we can all gain from that is huge, because it's like, okay, because I've heard, and I've done this as well. We'll complain about things. We'll complain about people's,
I've never complained. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. I don't know what you mean.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about. I'm perfect. We'll like, let's say we'll meet someone, and then, whoever, friend, family member, stranger, it doesn't matter. And then we'll have an interaction, and then something about the interaction will annoy us. And then we'll go off and we'll complain to the next person that we talk to about that interaction. Well, instead of that, which we can, fine, express, do your thing. But if we can see it from, well, you had that interaction, you had something that was poking at you, that was trying to wake you up to this thing. And usually the way, I think we've said this in the past, where usually life presents you with the more extreme version of you. So let's say I was just talking to someone about this the other day. Like I met a person who was very much just focused on themselves and wanting to share all about this was a new person, and wanted to just talk about themselves and share, things about themselves, and didn't ask any questions of me or anybody else in the group. It was very self kind of centered, sort of, I don't even know. It was just very focused on them. Without the awareness of, like, maybe, when you meet someone, you kind of want it to be a dialogue versus a monologue.
Typically.
Right. And that like bothered some people in the group, which I think, I was like, yeah, like, you don't really want to forge a relationship with someone like that, because you feel like it's going to just be all about them. And so I was like, well, where am I doing that in my life? Where am I? You know what I mean? Clearly, yeah, like that showed up in my world. Let's look at that, versus like just going off. I could easily just go off and complain and be annoyed and be like, I don't want to talk to that person again.
Well, it's also data. I think it's both, because sometimes you go,
yes,
yeah, that person, because sometimes I'm sure there's certain people I'd meet where I would love if they talked for 20 minutes and I didn't say anything, because they're super entertaining and just blew my mind with interestingness. If it,
yes,
but that's pretty rare. Usually it's a back and forth kind of thing. But so most of the time you're going to be like, yeah, this is a signal that it's like a mirror for you to check your shit and be like, okay, kind of doing that a lot lately with over here. But also, I think it's both. It's and.
It is both. It absolutely is. It's like, okay, I don't necessarily want to be friends with that person. And I could probably stand to look a little deeper and see, where might I be doing this? There's definitely nuances, definitely. But I think every experience is an opportunity to gain awareness, I guess, is kind of right.
Exactly. I think that's exactly what you're saying, is everything happens for you. So
Yeah.
in some cases, you're going to say, wow, this is really, maybe I want to talk more. Maybe I want to be more like this person. Maybe I want to talk, like there's infinite possibilities, but the awareness, I think awareness really helps. We're talking a lot about relationships. It really helps in the relationship space. And, and I think what prevents people from doing that a lot of times can be that they're wrapped up in their own stuff. Either they're stressed out, um, they don't care, which is totally valid. Like, I just don't care. Or they are in pain and they're really suffering and they're really wrapped up. So there's a whole bunch of reasons people aren't trying to be aware of what's going on the outside, but more importantly, they're not aware of what's going on the inside. So the reason that they're behaving in a way that's possibly less beneficial to the entire groupo is that they are in some kind of avoiding their feelings.
Yes.
See our previous podcast, please. Avoiding your feelings, or some part of their brain is in a fear state and they're kind of reacting to their own fear on the inside. So I think this kind of brings us over into being aware of how you are and how you're affecting the world. But obviously, more importantly, is what's going on inside you. Are you in a relaxed flow/flow getter state, where you're just kind of accepting life and it's all good? Or are you a little tense and a little trying to get your voice heard, or a little trying to control something, or a little you can feel, I think this is really difficult for people. A lot of people, don't have the awareness of what mode they're in. Like, they're really just responding to stuff. And done this a billion times, so I'm not pointing any fingers, but also getting really good at going, okay, what's my deal right now? Like, oh, I'm a little nervous, so I'm talking too much, or I'm a little nervous, I'm not talking enough, or, I'm totally not present moment, so I'm kind of just, there's a million things that be going on. But the point is that we're not slowing down to catch any kind of awareness of what's happening within us. And I don't think, this is my theory, that if we can't kind of be aware of our personality ego self, we're definitely not going to be able to connect with our higher self and kind of keep that connection flowing. This is what we do here at Flow Getter. So I think it's really important to learn how to be in yourself to get that awareness. And further, I just keep going. I am not stopping this monologue.
Keep going.
Further, I think that we have the benefit isn't just, okay, yay, higher self or whatever, is without a doubt, we all know this. When you're in a really good space of presence, peace, joy, awareness, all this stuff, you manifest like crazy. Things go your way. Things are always working out for you, but man, do they always work out for you better when you're in a better space. But that comes from an awareness of, oh, I'm having this, negative feeling that I'm just not getting rid of, or my beliefs are all wacky right now, or just, infinite things. We could probably talk for a half hour just on all the things going on inside you as a person. But the point is, are they open and flowing, or are they tight, twisted, weird, making you uncomfortable in some way? And I think if you can just, if we can all figure out which bucket we're in, we're all going to just be in a better place to either make the choice to change that or not, obviously. But if we are in a good space, yay, celebrate, go with it. And if not, it puts people at choice. But I think the unawareness, if anything burns our biscuits, and it triggers us because we also do this, is people that are just so unaware of their inside, their outside. They're just 100% not listening to themselves nor the outside world. It burns the biscuits, I think, because one, when we don't do that, that's not good. And then two, it's really hard to feel like you can even connect with this person. They're just kind of something. And I think that kind of gives us this collective grief of like, come on back with us. Come home to the human collective of joy and goodness. And people are just like when they're really going unconscious, obviously we have to go into compassion mode, but it's also just irritating and you're like, ugh, and you just want to not be around. Right? So you're having this conflict of like, I'm really annoyed and angry, but I feel kind of guilty that because I should just embrace you. And then you yourself get conflicted and then you're like, ah. So that said, awareness is really beneficial because you will manifest. Okay. That was the longest monologue ever. Hope the listeners are still here or they're desk scrolling and smoking. And you're like, whatever. If not, Erica, tell us and delight us with your genius.
You really nailed it, because I think it's getting underneath what the behavior is. So if we're out in the world and we're having experiences and we're coming across behavior that feels uncomfortable, it may or may not be the behavior, but it's the behavior, it's the what's going on underneath that triggers that behavior that is worth looking at. So like for the example that I used where person, was, it did, when I kind of think of how the energy felt coming from that person, it felt very anxious. It felt like it did feel like they were filling space, and they're, to me that all pain and suffering comes from some form of fear, in my opinion. And so I feel like there was definitely some fear there, and there was then the talking was just sort of a way of coping. And so, cause it's funny, cause I was like, well, where do I talk too much? I'm like, but I definitely, the idea of fear and anxiety in a new group, a new situation where you're uncomfortable, maybe you don't want to be there. Who knows? Maybe you made the choice to be there and you really like kind of regretting it, and now you're coping in a way or something. I totally understand that. I get it. And I'm like, okay, so how do we, a couple of things, like how can I be more true to what I want to do and, make choices based on truly how I'm feeling? Or let's say I said yes to a thing and now I'm there and I'm like, oh my God, I kind of wish I hadn't done this. How do I cope? Or think, so anyway, it's the point is that awareness of, okay, that I got to, I guess awareness is awesome for so many reasons, right? It eliminates judgment, kind of, or helps to eliminate judgment, because you understand that there's a really good reason for why this thing is happening or why you're experiencing this thing.
That's so
you don't have to judge yourself. You don't have to judge the outside world. You know that there is a root cause, and you can go to the root cause and figure it out from there, which is really awesome. And so, yeah. And also awareness allows us to let go of this idea of controlling the outside. It's like, you don't need to do that because that never works. And it just creates more pain and suffering for everyone around, and so, because I definitely fall into that trap. Like, I wish you would just behave differently, or I wish you would, make a better choice. It's like, well, that's not really up to me, is it? It's, how about I make the choices that are best for me, and then I'll start to see that mirror in the real world,
So brilliant,
yeah.
first of all, just so brilliant.
Yes.
And I don't know if you noticed this, you have this beautiful light pattern on your face, which is giving you like, it's like Braveheart and then also like dapple horse. So I just want to say how awesome that is.
Why, thank you.
You're so brilliant, because I didn't even think of the things that you just said. Yeah. I didn't even think of the things that you just said, because control is a huge thing. Like, yeah. So, okay, tell me more.
The reason that came to mind was because, again, when my dad had brought up this topic, he brought it up in the, like, I think he brought it up, and Nick, you can comment below if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe it was because he's noticed it for him, because he's such a sensitive being, and he's noticed this lack of awareness in his environment. And of course, as a caretaker personality kind of energy that he has naturally, it's like he wants them to be different, And I get it. I think we've all been there.
Just be like different, okay?
Yeah. That's like what we all do, is we all go to the outside and we're like, can you just please be different so that I feel better? Do this for me, okay? Duh, that's not ever gonna work, And
Yeah,
if you
like be universe, but could you just not be you, though?
It's like that. It's like, what's that play? I love you, you're perfect, now change.
Oh.
It's like, It's like that, right? I mean, we all do it. We all, you're amazing. Now do it different. So, yeah, it's kind of, I think that's where it's like, if we just continue to make deeper levels of awareness in every facet of our life, our, like if we take every opportunity to go there in every time, we aren't spending our time trying to change other people. We're not spending our time trying to make our relationships better from the outside. We're doing it from the inside.
Yeah.
And that's truly how you make them better. I mean, it is.
Testify, woman. I love it. You made me think of something else that I want to ask you. Okay. Yes. So is it true that if, let's say, the sensitive being is like, I really am very aware of you, and I'm aware of my own trigger and wanting to control and fix this because I don't because I can feel, the empath can feel so much. So they're just like, ugh. Like I tend to be practically
you're a
psychic.
Deep empath.
I'm like, I just can see every, so let me just fix. And I'm like, okay, the smart thing for me to do is actually to shut down and just be like, separate. But because it's a talent, I'm like, well, let's get in there. Let's do it. Like, unless you're paying me, I really shouldn't do that. But it's really difficult for me to keep that boundary. So is your advice in alignment? Like, what does the hypersensitive person do? Because for me, like, I lean in instead of run away. I'm like, you should run away. But I lean in. So what do you think about all those empaths out there? What do we do?
Hilariously, like, I'm a runner aware. It's me. And I think the reason we have naturally done what we have done to this point is because you have more natural energy and you're more naturally a people person, and you just came into this world kind of with a better understanding of what it means to be in relationship than I've definitely grown from the time, like a lot. Yeah. But I think because of and then the flip side is because I think I'm an extra introvert, right? I'm a super introvert, I should say. I have run because for me, it's like, oh my God, I know what kind of energy it's going to take to try to engage. I'm out. is my thing, right? It's like, I'm out. Yeah. And then yours is like, I want to engage more because you have the energy to do it. And I think, but I don't know that either one is. I'm
still under the illusion that I can control and fix people. So, just saying.
Well, okay, I think, I will say.
I'm just kidding. All right, kidding. All right, go ahead.
I will say two things that I've learned in life. Okay, no matter who you are, no matter how you're made, you walk the walk, period. You set the example, period. The times when I think of like the personalities that I've either seen in real life or heard about, read about, or have seen on video or whatever, like the Eckhart Tolles or the Jesus or people in my real life who provide this living example of what it is to be aware and awake. They don't try to change the outside. They don't even go there. And they don't judge either. All they do is be.
They just be. I'm failing all of these. I'm like, okay.
And that's where when you have a person in your life that you admire and love, whether it's like in real life or in your fantasy world, like that is this, you're drawn to that type of personality because you know that it's where you want to be too. And those are the people who don't try to change you. None of us like to be told what to do. None of us like to be like, nobody wants to hear you should do this different unless you're paying someone like a therapist.
Right. Like you can pay us and we'll totally tell you.
Yeah. Like I'm paying you to tell me what to do. Fine. Right. But like if I didn't ask for your advice, to me, I'm trying more and more to live from the space of, if you explicitly, very clearly ask me for my opinion and my advice, I will share. Otherwise, I'm out. Like I can't, I won't do it because you didn't ask and you're not going to hear it. And then we're both going to get frustrated. You're going to get frustrated because you didn't ask. I'm going to get frustrated because you're not doing what I say. What's the point of that? Like that's silly.
The dumbest thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the person who's the empath, who do they need to, first of all, it's totally brilliant. Do we need to like like you said, your tendency is to kind of like pull back. Is that your advice for like the people that are too aware of? I
So
mean, there's no such thing as too aware, but their focus is more out than in.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
And my answer is the challenge for all of us at every level of sensitivity that we have is to be in any situation and understand, be able to feel without absorbing, like without internalizing, let's say. Because I think the problem that a lot of empaths run into is you feel this thing, and same with me. Like again, with in crowds or at parties, like my battery drops really quickly because it's a lot. But however, when I go in with a certain level of awareness and I understand, it's almost like you can put up an energetic field around you where you can see and you can feel and you can kind of taste and not go further. That when I at the times that I've ever done that, I can my energy levels are higher. I can stay. I have a longer stay power. Um, and then I'm also not judging. I think we judge because we feel so deeply, and we,
Mm-hmm.
and it resonates almost, or it's almost too close. And then we're like, and
Yep.
then, or that's part of why we judge. But,
Yeah.
I think is, I think the goal is to become more sensitive. I don't think the goal is to like run. I really don't. I know, but unless I'm sure there's times to run, of course, but I also think the goal is to, if you make a choice and you want to be in a situation, I think go in with the level of awareness that, yeah, you might, if there is an energy that you're not into, if
Run.
it's really bothering you, it's probably speaking to something that's going on inside of you. But if you can be there, so here's an example. When I work out and I come out of that feeling with that high, I feel like I have built my energy to be in a space where I can be, how do you say it?
Bulletproof.
Yeah, bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So if my energy levels are already low and I'm already kind of irritated or frustrated or feeling the whatever, and then you put me in a situation with other people who are like, I'm going to lose my mind. Like I will not be able to handle it. Right. However, I've been in situations where I remember doing a really good workout one time and I was meeting a friend for dinner, and the friend I met with was not in a good space. Now, normally, like this has happened before where I've met this friend in the not good space, but I've also been in a not good space. And then it's just like, oh, it's so heavy and icky. And I'm like, I want to leave now, like 5 minutes into the meeting. But because I was already feeling pretty awesome, that didn't happen at all. So I was feeling pretty darn good. And then the friend came in and was feeling here. And there's a greater space between that. So it's almost like I wasn't able to really tap into this deep pain over here because I was
Mm-hmm.
here. So I was able to be there and kind of, because I've had enough life experience, I was able to be compassionate and empathetic, but also not let that affect me.
Yeah,
Whereas,
or fix it or
or
whatever.
fix it. Yeah.
You were
Just,
Eckhart
yeah.
Tolleing is what you were doing. You were like, okay,
I
I can
was
just be here with
I can just
this.
be here, and you get to
Yeah,
be however you need to be right now. I'm not going
right.
to judge it because I was feeling pretty good. Now, in times where I've been here, like similar, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm feeling, it's like, not only am I trying to figure out my crap, now I'm having to deal with this and it's too close. And now I'm absorbing more of this.
No,
So it's
no,
just,
it's playing like playing the offspring in the outfield at the same time. Both horrible sounds coming together. Sorry, bands, just not my favorites. And and then it's like vibrational nightmare sound, and yeah,
totally. Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
It's,
Mm-hmm.
it's, it's, yeah. So I think I always envision that, like the peaceful, calm Zen human walking through this tornado, but they're still Zen. I sort of picture it like that,
Yeah,
where you could throw
yeah,
anything at this person and like, it's all good inside.
yeah.
You're good.
You're good. And
You're
I want to
good.
talk about the flip side. I get tangled. I want to talk about the flip side. You see, you cut to me, and I'm like just tangled in all these things. The flip side, because this thing is thinking of me. Okay, so we've got the awareness of you're feeling good, you're building your own self-esteem, your self-love, your self-awareness, not worried about all this stuff that we're all sort of, I think, striving towards, at least this audience. And then you have the person who maybe is in the victim narcissist. One's the narcissist and one's the victim, or super toxic person, super kind, compassionate person, going, well, I just don't support them or whatever. My advice, because I've been there for about a nanosecond, but I have like very little tolerance for too toxic of humans, but we've all been there. But when you really see it in an exaggerated form, it makes sense to me that this person that's in sort of we'll call it the short stick of the relationship, where they're not the narcissist or they're not the toxic person, they're more falling victim to it, is that they're not aware that that's a disharmonious theme that keeps recurring in their life, some kind of pattern. And so that they're sort of used to it and they're not really seeing that, like, hey, that you could get more aware of what's really happening with that pattern. And that will free you from that relationship without guilt, without drama, without kerfuffle, like all those things. So that's another big benefit of awareness, is you get to have better, again, we're kind of back to relationships, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Ultimately the relationship with yourself, which then, if that's awesome, then invites in more awesome relationships. But you're exactly right. I think to kind of boil it down or simplify, if you're having a bad feeling, if there's anything that just feels bad, I think first of all, become aware that you don't feel good. Like that's just go there. Because I think I've seen a lot of people just walk around with constantly feeling crummy, constantly feeling whatever word you want to use that denotes kind of a negative, feeling. Becoming aware of that first. Okay. Then you can maybe try to map it to why. Why do I feel this way? It's like, well, everything makes me feel this way. I just feel this way all the time. I wake up feeling anxious. I go to bed feeling anxious, or I wake up feeling sad. I go to bed feeling sad. Okay. So that, like you said, that there is a disharmonious thing going on there. So when did that start? I don't know, but it's worth, you want to become aware of you want to heighten your levels of awareness and sensitivity. So you know how we hear like, oh, having a higher pain tolerance is good, or you mean like, oh,
yes,
right? Like, just be stronger, be brave, be stoic, just like,
I'm a Midwesterner. If
oh
you're
my
not
God,
bleeding out of your eyes, you're not working hard enough.
totally. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. My
Mm-hmm.
advice is the opposite.
Yeah.
Lower your pain tolerance. Like get it to a point where the instant you feel any form of pain is a trigger for you to become aware, or it should be a clue, it should ping you, hey, something's wrong.
Awareness. Yeah,
ping your awareness.
Yeah.
Let's look at this, because too often we ignore, and then the pain gets more, and then we ignore, and then all of a sudden we're left with, at some point we're going to, if you continue to not become aware and you let the pain go on, this is when illness and disease manifest.
Abraham is really good with that. They're like, don't worry, it'll get bigger. If you just want to ignore those awarenesses that come to you, don't worry, it'll get bigger, because it gathers momentum, and then it'll eventually, it'll ping you in some way. And yeah. So,
yes.
Okay. So if you're, okay, I'm just trying to think of there's like so many things. Okay. So if we summarize, basically awareness is going to benefit you from your relationship with yourself, your relationship with other people. It's going to help you prevent diseases, or if you have diseases, help you ferret out what's going on there. It's going to help, obviously, with sort of worldly things, because things are going to flow better for you. What do you think, if you had to, if we had to bullet point it, what do you think are the top ways someone can get more aware when they just really struggle with being aware? They're just kind of like, some family members I know, or something like this, like they're really, once you get them sort of grounded and you're talking to them, they're like, oh yeah, it's like they want to be aware, but in daily life they're just way off in the bushes. And then, like, so let's say someone wants to be aware, because I think the first step is you've got to want to be aware. If you don't really want to, probably this podcast isn't for you, but but willingness to go, no, I want that. I want to go deeper inside self. So I say number one is want, not just willingness, want. You got to really intend to get aware.
Yes.
But then the how. Can you tell the audience your favorite strategy from when you were clueless, non-aware to getting more aware? What helped you become more aware? Like, what did you do?
Let's see. Gosh.
Well, I think first there was the sacrifice. And then let's see. Then I can't remember. Or
I know. I
remember you talking about being in your body more. So I think exercise, being physical, helped you kind of get more present or something. I remember there was that, but I think there was a lot of other things.
Yeah, there's a lot of. It's funny. I'm like, I think slowing down is huge. Slowing down should be number one, probably. Yeah. We do. Mm-hmm. We do have a podcast on it. Slowing down is probably number one, because I think when you recognize that you've filled, I think a lot of us fill our days with busy because we don't want to be aware. Unconsciously, we don't want to be aware. So we just create all sorts of busy.
Why is that? Let's put a pin in that. Why do you think? Why don't we want to be aware?
Because the awareness could be really painful to look at when we're talking about. We all, like we've discussed in our last podcast, we all come into this life with a certain set of challenges, disharmonious themes that we signed up to address and we signed up to look at. And a lot of us go through life never looking at that stuff because it's painful. So we decide to fill our lives. And like you just said, like Abraham says, don't worry, it'll get you. We go through this whole life and then
it'll get more big.
It'll get bigger. Yes. Basically what it's doing is it's trying to get your attention. So if you're not looking, you're not paying attention, it's going to create bigger things to try to get your attention. And if you don't see that as your calling to become aware, then it's just going to get bigger and it's not going to stop. It's not like the universe the universe doesn't, you say stop, the universe like, oh, okay. Okay, we'll stop. Sorry. Sorry. We're just going to leave you alone now. It doesn't work like that.
Oh yeah, cool. I won't even look at you anymore. It's fine.
Totally. You just live your life. It's fine. You can. Yeah. Like we are human, and that's. So I think take the time to slow down or stop to really and then really decide to go inside and really feel your feelings. Like, if it's like, gosh, I've created all this stress in my life and I feel like I mostly always feel just stressed out. Like that's how I feel all the time. Acknowledge that. And then also acknowledge that that's probably not the best path to stay on, because if you can do that, then you can, okay, why, how did I even create this? What's going on? Why do I feel stressed? And a lot of times when you kind of just reflect on maybe the bigger moments in your life or the moments that maybe brought you the more stress, more of the feeling that you don't want, kind of, I think that each person, it kind of, we all have our lives for a reason. We all have experiences for a reason. They're our own to be able to reference, to be able to go back to be able, so I think slowing down first of all, and then I think stopping and really acknowledging that you've been feeling a certain way. So slow down and feelings, those two things. Okay. And we have podcasts on those.
Yes. Go look at the library. Yeah. Okay. So wanting to do it, slow down and feel. And I want to add a note to the feeling piece, which is sometimes it's not even pain. It's just general uncertainty because life is uncertain. And I think everyone wants everything to be very certain. I want to have my predictions come out correctly. Everyone wants to know. Well, guess what? I'm going to burst all of our bubbles, but it's a good burst, which is uncertainty is life. And nobody knows anything, and we don't know anything. Nobody on the internet knows anything. We all think we know something. We're very certain, and you can be certain in your own body. You can be certain with your own knowing. But when you're feeling uncomfortable, it's because you feel like you don't know. Like, if I feel that, or there's pain or something. Sorry, you're going to say something.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, and to me, when I think of uncertainty, because I kind of, when I think of uncertainty, that to me, like, why are you afraid of uncertainty? What is that fear there?
It's a
Why do you have to
survival
be
thing.
certain?
I think it's just
And
a human survival thing.
okay,
Personally, I think people are just wired for, okay, where's my next meal coming from? Is there danger? Like the lizard brain. It's very egoic.
okay,
It's very like,
okay.
like, is this going to work out?
Way long ago, we have a podcast on fear, which is like, go back and
Yeah.
watch that one, because we kind of talk about like what are the fears, like kind of the universal fears that we all have. And I think one of the ones we discussed was death. I think it's because of my beliefs that I don't go
Exactly.
there.
But you
Right?
arrive there through an exciting journey, which we have like 5 podcasts.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I do think when I said survival, which means
Yeah.
the flip side of survival is dying.
Right.
So I think that that's just very human of us to whatever. And all roads lead back to that base fear of whatever. And feeling emotions from a painful experience in the past. Maybe that's related, maybe it isn't, but it's essentially what you said before. It's all fear. So the awareness piece is maybe figure out what it is, like if you slow down, am I dealing with a pain situation? Am I just because I want everything to be just so I don't have to be afraid of life? What is really going on there?
Yeah.
Because, it may not always be the childhood trauma. It could be the fact that you want to control everything because you want everything to be in order because it feels unsafe.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's
right. But
valid.
why does it feel unsafe? Right. And like going deep, like basically keep going.
Keep
go
going
until you get right. Like what is it that feels unsafe? Cause I totally hear what you're saying. And I think you're right. I think when you get to the deepest level that you can possibly get and get to the very base fear of whatever it is that you're afraid of. Okay. So if it's a safety thing, why do you feel unsafe? What happened that made you feel unsafe?
Yeah.
And handle it, like really go there, because I think until you reach the bottom that you could possibly reach, there's still more to go. You know what I mean?
More.
If you get to here and then you think, okay, I'm done, but there's still more, keep going.
I think it really boils down to why this podcast has this spiritual flavor, even though we talk a lot about psychological things and real world things, is because ultimately it becomes on your perspective of what life and death and existence really is. And some people don't know what they think about that. So they get to, just death, bad. I don't know. Because they haven't thought about it, or they're conditioned about it, or they don't know what they think and they just don't have the data to make that opinion. And so I think it's a very, like I said, it's that unknown, uncertain, don't know what this is. So it gets, you are a true Scorpio rising, my friend. Get to the bottom. I'm a Scorpio. So we're like, what's the center of the universe? Oh, nothingness. Okay. We're comfortable with that.
Yeah.
We are. But we had to work to get comfortable with that. We have gone through a lot, both of us, to get to that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people haven't, so they don't know. So they're sort of staying in those middle stages. Okay. Yeah. We've just gone on and on. Okay. I have one. Do you have, okay, so we've said awareness is great because it's going to help you with your life. There's ways to do this. Be willing, slow down, and just keep asking yourself good questions. I have my final thought, and then I'm going to ask you what your final thought is. My final thought is the following. Empowerment. Awareness is empowerment. Because this is what, woman power, this power, that power, all these powers, right? When you are aware of your inner spirit, inner soul, inner self, personality, all the parts that make you, you are thus empowered. And nothing else on the outside can give you as much power as that can give you.
Yeah. Amen, sister.
Amen, sister. Okay. What is your final thought for our beautiful, very, very delicious audience that they are?
I mean, I feel like you just summed it up perfectly, because I also know that for Flow Getter, that's what we are here to do, is help empower whoever is out there listening.
Oh,
that's part of why we exist, is we want to empower ourselves and we want to empower all of you. So I love that you just said that. That is, yeah, like gaining awareness equals just, I mean, it improves your life beyond, beyond comprehension. And empowering yourself to live your best life is what we're here to help you do.
You really said that really well, because I do think that is why we're here. So, because we're helping each other, being friends, and also kind of recording this for other people to see us work through it, the challenges, the triumphs. And then we want to work with our audience and, create that community of us all understanding how empowerment happens and help each other rise. So it brings the entire collective of all existence to a higher level of awesomeness. So Erica, thank you for your brilliance. You're the one that actually taught me. I was doing all the spiritual stuff, but you really brought in that awareness word into our lives long ago. And I really thank you for that. So thank you, Majesty of Awesome. Audience, we love you. Thank you for being here with us. We love it when you make it to the end. So thank you very much. If it behooves you, please subscribe, because that helps the channel reach more people. We have a website, flowgetter.com, and we are just happy to be here. So thank you for existing. Erica, as always, namaste, girl. Bye, everybody. Take care. Dance it out.